Admiral the Earl Mountbatten of Burma described Operation FRANKTON as the most courageous and imaginative raid conducted by Combined Operations Command during World War II.
The aim is to retrace the steps of the raiders who were on Op FRANKTON in 1942. They paddled from out at sea, left HMS Tuna, paddled round the coast, and then over a number of nights paddled up the River Gironde to the port of Bordeaux, where they planted some explosives, and then made their escape over France, and then down through the Pyrenees. The guys will get from this exercise an opportunity to experience firsthand the physical demands of what the raiders went through in 1942. In our brief training few hours out there, we've seen a real mixture of powerful water, and it's quite easy to understand how they must have felt physically and mentally as well.
The training the guys have done, we spent 2 days down in Poole, where they got used to the klepper, which is a folding kayak, which is similar to what was used in 1942 with the real cockleshell heroes. So they learned how to put the boat together. Then we took them out and they practiced working as a team. That's two people in the same boat, thinking like one person. Which is what the soldiers gain from this. First thing is teamwork. As I said earlier, there's two people in that boat, but they've got to think as one. You can't have two minds. So they're going to learn to work as a team. They're going to learn to work as a group, because there are a number of boats out there. And also they're going to learn to overcome their fears. A lot of the guys and girls come down yesterday, they saw the tidal races, and rightly so, they're apprehensive, which means they're not complacent. They know what they're going to deal with, and their fears are going to be tested. They're going to come out of their comfort zone. My thoughts on this, I think it's fantastic. We've got the opportunity to be the first multinational team to react it from start to finish. So I think that side is brilliant. The French support on this is amazing. The FRANKTON Society have come out, they've helped us, they're going out of their way to help this, make this work. My impression is the Arcs team. Yeah, there's a bunch there. As I say, we got people from different countries. They're working well together. They've picked who they're going to paddle with, and not necessarily from their own nations. So we got internations in a boat. They're up for it, they'll do it.
In his book, Cockleshell Heroes, C.E. Lucas Phillips describes the most remarkable qualities of the raid. He says those in four things. First, tenacity of purpose. Second, physical endurance. Thirdly, cool nerve and courage under natural and unseen perils. And fourthly, and lastly, training on stealthy and unobserved movement. These themes were considered during every portion of our exercise, during every activity.
It was a good opportunity to test out the boats, and hadn't experienced a race before, or some of the turbulence. It was the first time for me, so it was really good. It's challenging, but with the instruction that we have here, it makes it doable. Really interesting. Good first day.
The race is right out on the Atlantic bit. We're pretty cheeky when the waves are coming from the side. You have to get used to leading into the wave rather than what you wouldn't expect. So if it's like that tomorrow, I'm sure it'll be very interesting doing 41 kilometres of that.
Yeah. How would you have felt had you gone into the tide races? Yeah, a bit more sort of skill dependent. Yeah. You see how that it's not just timing, because those tide races, you can see at the end when we got back, the environment by that wall had totally changed. Where that chop was beginning, that's where the back end is starting to form, and the wind is approaching it from a different angle. Who could do that for 5 hours tomorrow? Yeah. Who would be happy doing that? So replicating the conditions.
It's two different things when you reenact history and when you face history. Mrs. Baudry is history. The way this lady talks about the events in 1942, it's like it was yesterday. You could see the little girl, the 16-year-old girl of 1942, and all the memories were still clear, and it was like being there 60 years ago. That's amazing. She's an amazing lady, and she's very famous in the area, and I understand why so many people refer to her. She has a very clear understanding of people.
Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith, and Sovereign of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, to Jean Boudret.
Oh yes, I can tell you, these kind of memories don't vanish easily. One morning, fishermen who were heading to their oyster parks, because there were oyster parks those days, you know, literally stumbled on these men at the far end of St. Vivian Channel, the channel that leads straight to St. Vivian Harbour. So they were very, very badly positioned because of the Germans conducting patrols many times a day from Bordeaux Harbour to the Gironde estuary. In case of British troops landing in Gironde, they were scrutinising the Gironde many times a day, and therefore they would inevitably discover them. The fishermen showed themselves, although they were a bit hesitant, wondering if it was not a trap. So when the commandos opened what looked like some kind of rubber raincoat and displayed their uniforms they wore underneath, and everything was said, just like that. And immediately, it was funny when you think about it now, the fishermen said, "You can't stay here." They explained, "We're going to place you in cover. You will not move from there all day because of people going up and down the channel. But if you don't move from there, no one will discover you, and we will remain silent." And they kept their word. So they were located at Le Pont aux Oiseaux. Here it is, up there. I have been presented this painting, but it didn't look like this. The reeds were higher. This was painted a few years ago. It has changed since, but this is the exact location. So they obeyed the fishermen, and I tell you, what is amazing, and even the Queen heard about this, is that no one said a word. There were at least a dozen fishermen, and all households in St. Vivian might have known about this, but only the Germans never heard about it. This is remarkable. So the fishermen intended to give them some food. Even in 1942, we didn't have much to share, but they wanted to give them something. They didn't know what, but immediately Hasler and Sparks uncovered their supplies, and then they had food. They had food, they had everything they needed. They had enough to make tea, they had much more than the fishermen, but the intent pleased them, and the gesture moved them. French people, having not much and willing to share, it is noble. I know it because they told me afterwards. And again, when Sparks came over a couple of times, he expressed how the gesture moved them. They didn't expect this. My father then said, "Wait a minute, we can't leave them like that. We must go there. They might have food. They may need something else. We must know where they're going, in which direction, and what they are doing here. They may not say where," and they actually didn't, "but they must explain where they are heading to. Maybe we must tell them of any particular threats." And then off I went. It's amusing, but this is how it happened. And what impressed me most in this is Hasler. What a man. What impressive eyes he had, yet he was not a colossus. Still, he was imposing, just by his striking gaze. I told his wife when they visited us how impressive he was. I guess that none of his men ever tried stepping on his toes, because he really stood as the boss and not a joker.
First thing is, you're in a layer. This, yes, take it with you. But notice, you've got elastic at the bottom.
The equipment, especially in terms of clothing, that we considered throughout our exercise, we pined over this to make sure we used it right, to withstand the cold temperatures. That was not available to Hassler's Raiders. These Marines had the best in 1942, but still far inferior. the best you could get was really wool. They had to use wool and they had cotton trousers. They had wool hats, and they had silk lining in them. That was the only thing they had. And you can imagine going through those frigid temperatures. It was described in some accounts where they felt the stinging spray. It was so cold on their face.
Just right now I'm trying to figure out how to put food near me and on me.
So you've got easy access?
Yeah, so I've got water in here, and then 3 Snickers and 2 of these energy bars, and then water, and then I'll have some other water with like some protein in it.
Yeah.
Having seen the film as a boy, and it being an inspiration to me to join the Royal Marines, to actually be here paddling over the water and actually walking over some of the terrain that Blondie Hasler and his men visited and used during the operation is a real honour and a privilege. I think we were expecting it to be challenging, but the conditions today have been the worst that we've experienced. We were planning to avoid the races, but we did actually hit some of the races, which was unexpected, but we all dealt with it really well, and I think we all will feel very proud of what we've achieved today.
I'd say they're very well prepared for this. They're fit, and they're committed, and that's the main thing. They've got that commitment to be fit for purpose and to actually be able to carry out the adventure. The kayak is probably the smallest ocean-going vessel, and it's about a little bit wider than your hips, and it's about 17 foot long. So when you actually take that into an ocean environment, you realise that you're vulnerable at the end of the day, and you're committing yourself to a pretty advanced section of coastline here. In fact, it's probably one of the most advanced sections of coastline in the world. The swells that come in across the Atlantic into the Bay of Biscay are infamous, and also the strong tides in this region. As soon as the wind starts blowing against the tide, you get an incredibly rough sea. So the guys are, they've been tested at times, and I think they've met the challenge as well. They've worked really hard. It's been a great honour to be involved in this and to see that happen.
Pretty good actually, quite relatively soft on the sand, nice and warm. Nice good amount of sleep, to be honest. And woke up this morning to this beautiful sunshine. Also, I could look out from where I was sleeping. I could see the exact wood where Blondie Hasler was stayed during his time on the water, his layup point.
So I think I was.
Today was hard work but good fun. I suppose if it would be tedious, it would be tedious. I think one word would be a bit tedious today. It's a lot of paddling where you don't really see an awful lot apart from another stretch of water. It's alright, it's not filming at the moment, not while I got my admin nightmare going.
Yeah?
Surely the boss has done this loads of times.
Okay, let me just put the radar. Right, we're on.
Have a good day.
Bon voyage. Au revoir. Around this side of the pillar.
Things, it's great. It is out of our comfort zone. Not many people are kayakers, not many people have done sea canoeing and then coming up the estuary. Working against the tides or with the tides, or working out how best do you technically work this through. And of course you haven't got the threat here of what it would have been for real for Hasler and against the German army. I came down mainly to see the team, see what they've set up, because I was really interested when we chose it. We thought this was going to be a good one for this year's Selva Backstop, and couldn't miss the opportunity of then being now with the ARC, both the soldiers and officers, but also more importantly getting out on the water. Even just for today, just getting a feel for what the guys have been through, and I think it would be great. I mean, looking around today, we're going to I think about 12 nautical miles, and something I haven't been done for a while. So really looking for the challenge, and wouldn't miss the opportunity.
How are you feeling, sir? It's all done. How are you feeling?
Fantastic. Great. It's not all done. Phase 1 done. On to the Pyrenees.
So Operation FRANKTON was a mission undertaken by Combined Operations, which was a branch of the military. It was a maritime force. Their mission was to destroy certain German vessels in the port of Bordeaux. Recreating this mission for me and for all of us, it means that we do appreciate something. I think in order to fully appreciate something, you have to understand it. And to understand something, you have to walk a mile in someone's shoes, or in this case, paddle 100 kilometers in someone's boat to really understand the physical challenges involved. What we aren't able to recreate are all of the threats that Hassler and his men faced as they set off on the 7th of December in 5 boats. They faced things that they couldn't even imagine. So along our way, we've stopped and we've talked about what Hassler might have been thinking. We can understand his perspective better by recreating this, retracing his steps. We can understand it better on what perhaps he might have been thinking as a leader, and see how do we carry this forward into our daily lives? How do we take this back as ARC staff? How do we take this back as soldiers to our men and to our women?
Still too short.
Don't break it, man. We've heard the story of their ending here. Again, we'll give them a minute's reflection.
Today we've been training with the French Commando school. We started the morning by going out on the water, got a tour in and around their sort of patrolling area and water training area. From that we moved on to the assault course, doing some of the easy to medium obstacles across both water and land, and then this afternoon we've moved on to the close quarter battle area. They've been able to push those that have got the experience, especially within the CQB lanes, to a higher level, and those that have maybe never done it before, kept it back for them. So I think everyone's had a fun, but they've had their learning curve during the day as well. Because we're a mixture of cat badges within the Ark, actually is something different for the guys to maybe understand how other nations train and how other cat badges train. For myself, being in the infantry, there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have done. And actually, most of the guys that are here are not infantrymen, so they've got an idea of how the infantry operate in that close quarter environment, but not just that, how the other nations conduct themselves as well.
This phase of the exercise was where we retraced the steps of Blondie Hasler and Bill Sparks as they made their way through the Pyrenees into Spain, including Albania, and then finally to Banyolas.
Now you are in Spain!
This escape phase was basically where Bill Sparks and Blondie Hasler were on foot, and they were making their way through mountainous conditions. We wanted, like the paddling phase, we wanted to experience what Hasler and Sparks felt as they made their way through the hills. We clearly were not being pursued by anyone, but we still found it as a group a very, very demanding trek. The terrain was, as we came out of France, it was quite severe and mainly pine forest and on metal track. And then as we went over the border into Spain, we'd see the arable fields and a totally different terrain sloping down into Spain. And there was a total variety. It was a long day. It was an 11.5-hour day walking yesterday.
When I look back now on the exercise, I really do look back with fond memories, rose-tinted glasses. I think when I first deployed on the exercise, I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't sure that I was going to learn anything about myself, but actually, I think it was actually very, very challenging. Both aspects, both the paddling and the trekking aspect. And I learned to dig deep. I learned to face challenges that I wasn't expecting to face, and I think I developed it. I think looking back, my favourite part of the trip will have been certainly the paddling phase, because that's very different to anything that I'd ever done before. And that first day, just the sheer magnitude of launching from a boat in the middle of the ocean into a tide race, and then desperately trying to paddle into the mouth of an estuary is just something that even 6 months ago I would never have considered myself to be something that I would achieve.
It was awesome. I just loved the whole episode of training down at Royal Marines Pool, having a nose round there, getting into these boats, your Kleppers, which not many people get to have a paddle on. Great team bonding session for the whole adventure. Yeah, just a really good two weeks of hard work, but with some great people. The highlights were definitely living off the boat, paddling the boat, following history in its footsteps, putting in at the original line-up points that Blondie Hasler and the team stayed at. Yeah, it's just fantastic. It was hard work at times, and then we had the opportunity to chat about it, laugh about it in the evening, and a bit of banter and take the piss out of each other.
I felt it was a tremendous accomplishment for myself personally and for the group as a whole, and how we broke down this enormous challenge of following in the footsteps of some World War II heroes. Well, one of the aspects that drew me towards this adventurous training was the fact that it was physically challenging. I'm 52 years old, so it really made me focus on physical training and really pay attention to the new technical skills that would be required for paddling and trekking and navigating and so on.
Well, for me and others, the exercise has been a unique opportunity for us to retrace the steps of the raiders of Frankton in 1942. The highlights have been, as the organiser, have been just watching the exercise come together and work so successfully. And in addition, the French response has been phenomenal. They have given us incredible support and have been really interested in what we're doing, and that it just validates what we're doing, and I think it will help keep the memory of this raid alive for years to come.